Well, greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well, and welcome back to tonight's second half. Before we get into it, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, and my merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. The links to Patreon and PayPal are in the description below. My merch is displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman, Frightening Encounters, Volume 1, 2, and 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons. Narrated and produced by me, Jeffrey Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, the links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe, click the like button, and please leave a comment. It really does help, and it matters. And now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's get on with tonight's second half, shall we? Alright guys, tonight's second half is going to be an interview with a subscriber whose mom had an experience with the beast of Bray Road. Let's get into this. Alright everybody, tonight I have GW back with us. He shared with me hearing Robert. Now GW, Ronnie, and Robert all pretty much grew up together. They were friends. And when GW heard Robert share his encounters, it reminded GW of something that had happened to his mom. And he wanted to share that with us tonight. And tonight I welcome back GW. GW, how are you?
Howdy, howdy. How you guys doing, man? How you doing, Dogman family?
Good, good. So your mom was... I actually haven't heard the encounter or the story yet, so I know it took place in Wisconsin. I'm going to leave the floor to you, and you can share what you heard or what you were told by whoever shared this encounter with you, your mom or whoever.
Yes, sir. Well, to answer your question, it was my mom and my aunt that both told me. It was my aunt, my mom's oldest sister, my mother, and their friend Jeannie. I believe they had gone or were going to a concert up in, I think it was around Elkhorn, I believe is the name of the town. And they were heading towards Bowers, and you can even look it up on a map if you're in like southern Elkhorn, I think it is. Bray Road connects, I think it's like eastern Elkhorn to Bower, and they were just taking Bray Road, and she didn't know anything. She didn't know anything about anything. She was literally, we've had family up there for as long as I can remember. Her cousin, Jackie and Jackie, I think that that's some. I think that is them. They are jewelers, and they live up there. So, anyways, my mother and my aunt and their friend had been up in Elkhorn for a concert. I'm not sure what the concert was, but the thing about it was, the reason that my mom told me was because she had this teeny tiny little red car. It was, I think it was a Honda or a Toyota. It was a very older model. It was almost kind of like one of those older model hatchbacks. And even back then, you know, they made cars way more solid, way better than they do now. And with this encounter, you'll even notice that, you know, the car held up, but the beast of Bray Road or whatever actually had left a print on this car, and which is why she even told me the story to begin with, because of the giant mark and dent that it had left. Now, they had been attending this concert and were driving back towards Bower, and my mom had told me that, you know, nothing was happening. Obviously, they were in the car, so, would have probably been completely oblivious to their surroundings as far as smells, sounds, and things of that nature. But, just a regular drive from around that eastern Elkhorn over towards Bower on Bray Road. As she said, all of a sudden, as she's driving, she feels the whole car move to the side. And she hears her tires screech as it's being pushed to the side. The car it's just the back end of the car that's being pushed to the side, but it's a rear-wheel drive. So it really does mess with the momentum of the car and moving forward. And she looks over to her left and sees a flash of these teeth, these white teeth, and this black fur, and what she said looked like a dog on two legs. And she said after this thing hit her car, it was running after the car. Now, this car was only a four-banger, which wasn't very optimal for getting up to, fast speeds for a getaway. I even drive one now in a Jeep, and I mean, it takes a little minute to get up to even going, 50 to 60 miles an hour with one of those smaller engines. And she looks in her rear view and she sees this thing running on all fours behind the car and starts freaking out. My aunt behind her, which is her older sister, starts absolutely crying and bawling because she claims that she's seen this thing. She claims that this thing was a werewolf. And I even asked my aunt about this because when my mom told me, this was way before this was actually even before, I really fully believed in Bigfoot. So I kind of, I thought my mom was messing with me. Just like I said with Ronnie, how he was messing with me with the demon deer shit. I figured she even did that too. We would do that to each other. And I kind of thought she was pulling my chain, so I asked my aunt. But when I went to my aunt, my aunt didn't want to talk about it much. And I could tell that she was visibly shaken about something. And she said that this thing was not a dog. This thing was, when it hit the car, it had ran at the car on two legs. And this car was small. And my aunt said it looked like it was coming for her because it was running and the car had, I guess, already kind of gone by, and this werewolf had actually hit the back of the car where my aunt was sitting because it's a two-door. So with a hatchback, so you have to think, she got into the passenger side and had to fold the seat up and then sit in her back. So if this thing hit the back end of the car, she probably did have a big face full view shot of this thing. And she wouldn't really even tell me the word werewolf because she didn't want to acknowledge or come to terms that could have been it. She has been telling herself for years that it wasn't that it was just something else, that she was seeing things. And so this thing was following the car after it had hit the car and slightly pushed it. My mom is freaking out. My aunt is crying behind her. The friend to the side looks back, and it's not the rear view because, the driver only has the rear view. So turns her head and screams, "Go, Julie, go, Julie, go," that's my mom's name. And she starts revving this thing and trying to get it up to speed. And she finally gets up enough momentum, and this thing is right behind the car. She said, Mom said she could see the glow of the brake lights on the fur. That this thing was so close that every time when it galloped, it would raise its head up, and she would see the flashes of the teeth as it raised its head up and down, chasing them down the road. And then all of a sudden, it banked off at a 45-degree into the woods. And she never knew. She was never one for making anything up. And I literally learned through this experience that she wasn't one for making anything up when I went to speak to my aunt about what it was that she saw and saw how visibly shaken she was. She ended up coming home from the concert, and I think like maybe 7 years later she met my dad, and then when they first moved in together, I even spoke to my dad tonight about this. They moved in and she had that same car that this Dogman or this werewolf had attacked, which I think it was a Dogman. I had been thinking or theorizing that the Beast of Bray Road could definitely probably just be a Type 1, definitely a Dogman. So I say, my aunt said werewolf because she definitely wouldn't say the term Dogman. She was just trying to come up with a logical term, and that was about the closest that she could, come to. But anyways, my mother had moved in with my dad, and the first thing she did when she pulled up, she came running in and yelling, "Gary, Gary, Gary, come out here and look at this. I need to just met probably not even maybe 4 months prior, and I don't even know if really he had ever really even seen her car because he was always coming to pick her up on his motorcycle. But he said that this thing, he said it looked like a bull had hit the car, it rammed it with its head. They said it had one puncture wound in the middle. I don't know what the puncture wound would have come from, whether it would have been like a claw or or whatever it could have been. I'm not sure. Or it's just saying maybe even broke something on his body when it hit the car. But I mean, I'm thinking that from the pictures that I've seen of this car, that this thing thought it could take the car. It was actually going to attack the car, stall it, and then take the occupants inside. This thing knew, that this, obviously it had maybe even come close to these vehicles, but this thing knew that it was small enough that it might actually have a chance with it, which is terrifying in itself to think that something out there would be big enough to try to take down a small car.
Yeah, the small car, it still weighs at least a ton,
Absolutely. I feel like this thing was probably very surprised at the weight of it. If it came after the car and it shifted the back but didn't really do anything else other than that, and the car stayed on track, probably definitely overestimated the weight of it. But nonetheless, I mean, that thing obviously definitely truly thought it could take it. And that's a scary thought in itself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you honestly feel when you're in your vehicle that you're safe, I mean, you feel safe in your home, you feel safe in your vehicle. And just kind of reminds me of the doctor that was from, I think, Connecticut and was killed in Georgia. Her car was found on one side of the road with the door open, and her body's on the other side of the road in a ditch. It's just, you feel like you're safe in your vehicle, and you're not. I mean, they have tremendous amount of strength. They have an intelligence about almost like setting traps up, like the ambulance driver. With his experience when they were setting the trap for him and his partner. So it's definitely not. It just goes to show that, hey, you're not safe when you think you are safe. And if one of these things wants at you, it's not gonna hesitate to go after you. So.
me ask, did you say New York with that attack with the woman?
No, she was a doctor in Connecticut. She lived either in New York or
Connecticut.
Connecticut, and she was down in Georgia, and she was they found her. Her vehicle was found with the door open, and her body was about 20 feet away from her vehicle in a ditch on the opposite side of the road.
Okay. That sounds to me like a situation where a Dogman, something like that, could have been laying in the road.
Yeah, I did a big article on it, on the cover up, a newspaper article cover up thing, and they only had one. They only released X amount of information on it, and it's a strange. It was a strange attack. I'm not gonna say it was or it wasn't because I wasn't there, but I have a big feeling that it was there, and I mean it was set up to where this lady obviously felt safe enough to get out of her car or stop her vehicle, and one or two or three opened the door and got her out. Something happened, and I'm not going to speculate exactly what.
Right.
I covered it, I think, twice or maybe three times, and the news news media cover up with government, and it's just one of those. The autopsy was never released and anything, and she was most certainly not a stupid woman at all. She was not a stupid
Absolutely
person.
a woman of intelligence,
Yeah,
obviously, with her credentials.
Yeah, something took advantage of her humanity. She saw something either on the side of the road or it was laying in the road and stopped her, but, I don't know. But
that was exactly what my mother also said about her encounter with the Beast of Bray Road when this thing hit the car. Before she saw what this could have been in the rear view as she's driving away, she first thought was, I've hit a dog, I want to stop. She looked in the rear view to try to see the body of whatever it could have been laying in the road, which is where she sees the teeth flashing and this thing moving behind the car, and she, guns it, starts freaking out and guns it. But she had literally thought that she had hit some kind of small animal, and the notion of maybe stopping to check if she saw a body in the road. And I mean, Lord knows how that story would have turned out.
Right, absolutely. Well,
and as you go ahead.
No,
Sorry,
you go.
My bad.
No, you go. I was gonna.
Well, all I was gonna say was, just that's an amazing. Oh, dude. Oh man, you're gonna have to stop that. Like, I've lost my train of thought with that. So.
All right, man. Well, I really appreciate you. First, I want to thank you for allowing me to share your first encounter, and then coming on, and it was a crazy thing that happened. I shared your encounter, and then you came on. Then we had Ronnie on, and all three of you guys are subscribers. And then Robert recognizes Ronnie's voice and gun, and then you hear Robert's encounters, and you hear about family in Wisconsin, and then you remember, hey, I completely blocked this out of my memory. It's crazy how everything worked out on this, and I really appreciate you allowing me to share your first encounter with everybody, and the way that this worked out. It was actually really cool.
Yeah, it was almost destinal. Definitely seemed like destiny, because just the way that it worked out, and after hearing Rob's story and hearing his voice, it just brought back so many memories for me during that first summer that, when his parents shipped him down and just tried to straighten him out, like, we had one of the greatest summers of our lives. And even back then, like, I had no idea, that anything like that had happened. And it was just it was an amazing experience for me, to hear, such close friends that I've associated with tell their encounters that we, had never even told one another. We had heard each other's encounter on your show, once we did our interviews, and that just made it so much more special and just so much more wholesome for me. And so, really, honestly, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you giving us this place to do so.
Yeah, and thank you. And it was like you just said, you guys never heard your encounters. Like, you and Ronnie had the experience that you guys shared together. You both kind of knew of your encounters, but Ronnie really never shared his encounter with anybody else, and then
No.
And then when he shared his, that's Robert had never even heard of, Ronnie's encounter. And it's crazy how it worked out. And it was
really
one of those things of destiny. It was meant to happen that way. And definitely I'm glad that my channel was able to experience that, and everybody was able to, all the subscribers who listen were able to share in listening to you guys' encounters. So I thank you very much.
I thank you too, and it's, it jogged my memory when you said subscribers. I want to say to every single one of you, all of Jeff's subscribers that commented with condolences to my mother, with those sweet and beautiful messages of love and caring and just concern for me, after hearing my encounter and me telling you the state of mind that I was in, and just being able to relate to me, really, really, really touched me, really touched my heart. And I appreciate that on the deepest, deepest level. I consider you guys family. And like I said on that first encounter, I am so, so proud of every single one of you. And I truly hope that you will continue on this love, caring, and compassion that you are, because it really went a very, very long way for me. And I just wanted to tell each and every one of you that sent that out to me in the comments on that first encounter, thank you all so much. I love you all from the very, very depths of my heart.
All right, brother. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for having me again, brother.
Talk to you soon.
Absolutely.
All right, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's second half as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. With that, please stay safe. Thank you for always tuning in. Thank you for all the support. And may the Great Spirit watch over us all, and may He guide us down that path that we call life.